There are weeks when the Torah portion could not feel more ancient and ephemeral. Then there are weeks such as this one, when the Torah's message so aptly mirrors what's happening in our lives today. This week's portion, Parashat Trumah, offers God's detailed blueprints for constructing the tabernacle, or desert sanctuary that the Israelites build and carry with them along their journey in the wilderness. God commands the people to construct the Mishkan so that God would have a physical space to dwell among them, protecting and guiding the Israelites along their way. What follows is 15 chapters about the Mishkan building project, one of the longest singular narratives in Torah. At the very beginning of the portion, God directs Moses to construct the tabernacle from gifts from the Israelite people, from every person whose heart is so moved. The very first in-kind donation drive, in that each gift of precious metal, luxurious fabric, and hardwood were offered in kindness by motivated volunteers who each wished to contribute to the worthy cause. One medieval Italian commentator imagined the kind-hearted Israelites were so quick to contribute that they did so even before officials were able to organize. They approached Moses personally, bringing with them so many contributions that Moses was later forced to call off the collection. The people gave and gave and gave to the tabernacle project, furnishing a magnificent dwelling for God in their camp. We at NSCI recently completed our own building project, collecting donations from more than 75 kind-hearted volunteers, each contributing to furnishing a home for another refugee family we're helping to resettle here in Chicago. Over the past 2 weeks, our community collected housewares and furniture, ensuring the family will be comfortable when they arrive in their new apartment. Truly a community effort, volunteers schlepped carloads of housewares into the city and up 3 flights of stairs to the apartment, sorted boxes of donations, cleaned and organized the closets and kitchen cabinets, and scrubbed the toilet and sink. But more than cleaning and decorating the apartment so that it's ready for the family's arrival, we modeled the Jewish way of tzedakah, of sacred giving, first demonstrated by our biblical ancestors when they contributed to God's dwelling place in the wilderness. Like our biblical ancestors who gave of their finest possessions for the tabernacle, we too sought to provide the family with not only the essentials that they'll need to survive, but our offerings, your offerings, were nothing less than what we would purchase for ourselves. Beautiful artwork for the walls, not only one blanket for each bed, but multiple layers of bedding, and new toys and activity books for the children. Maimonides teaches that when one gives to others in need, we are to give of our best, acknowledging the humanity in the other, and treating them with the dignity deserving of another human created in Tselem Elohim in the divine image. This is because in Judaism, charitable giving is not only about the items being donated, but how they are given and the intention by which gifts are offered. After all, the Hebrew word tzedakah, which is often mistranslated as charity, actually means righteous behavior and is often paired with the concept of social justice. That's why Maimonides teaches the highest level of tzedakah is a gift that helps put its recipient where she can dispense with other people's aid. The highest level of giving helps to lift the recipient from their struggles and contributes to their eventual independence. The great Rashi relates this important value through a classic rabbinic tale. Commenting on the laws about caring for a relative in need, Rashi explains, "You shall strengthen him. Do not leave him alone so that he descends and falls, for it will be hard to raise him up. Rather support him from the time his hand slips." To what might this be compared, Rashi asks? To a burden on a donkey. While it's still on the donkey, one person can grab it and set it straight. But if it falls to the ground, even 5 people cannot put it back on. So this Shabbat, the Shabbat on which we read Parashat Trumah, I should say that Trumah means gifts. I want to thank all of the many volunteers who helped to furnish and arrange the apartment for the refugee family who will soon arrive here in Chicago. Together, our community so generously gave all of the stuff that they'll need to thrive in this next chapter in their lives. But more importantly, I'd like to lift up this project as a model of Jewish giving. The greatest measure of success in co-sponsoring a refugee family is the family's ability to eventually thrive independently here in America. In this regard, I pray that our gifts be received with the same love with which they were offered and help to empower the family in their pursuit for independence and success in this country. Personally, I am so proud that we were able to partner with Refugee One again this year to help resettle another family, the third in as many years. However, NSCI's commitment to refugee resettlement predates 2018, when we formed what we now call 17, NSCI's Refugee Resettlement Project, the name we've given to this work. As you heard me preach a few Rosh Hashanahs ago, our efforts date back to the earliest period in NSCI's history. I'm told that our first assistant rabbi, Rabbi Arthur Bloom, and his family were rescued from the Nazis and brought here in 1938. Then later in the 1970s, NSCI's Board of Trustees revisited conversations about resettling international refugees. Detailed minutes exist in which our synagogue leadership strategized how best to welcome Vietnamese families who were fleeing oppressive legislation enforced by a communist regime. In January of 1980, NSCI welcomed the Tran family, refugees from Vietnam, fundraised and rented an apartment for them in nearby Highland Park, cooked them meals and tutored them in English. One family even loaned their station wagon, and others helped to secure their employment. Now in our 101st year, NSCI remains committed to the important work of refugee resettlement, honoring the legacy of our founders and continuing to embody Judaism's highest calling. There are weeks when the Torah's teachings could not feel more removed from our regular lives, and other times like this one, when Torah's timeless teachings call out to us, seemingly so relevant and life-affirming. On this Shabbat Terumah, the Shabbat of Gifts, I reflect back on our congregation's long history of refugee resettlement work, and more specifically, our collective efforts this week to resettle another family here in Chicago. Humbled, delighted, and eager to continue our pursuit for justice and kindness